The sun's just gone down, but hopefully I'll have enough light to, you know, make this video worthwhile. I've been wanting to do this video since I finished reading this book. It's called Overwhelmed: Work, Love and Play When No One Has the Time by Bridget Schultz, I think that's how it's pronounced. Maps the individual, historical, biological and societal stresses that have ripped working mothers and fathers' leisure to shreds, and asks how it might be possible for us to put the pieces back together. Seeking insights, answers and inspiration, Schultz explores everything from the wiring of the brain and why workplaces are becoming increasingly demanding, to worldwide differences in family policy, how cultural norms shape our experiences at work, our unequal division of labour at home, and why it's so hard for everyone, but women especially, to feel they deserve an elusive moment of peace. I read this because I saw someone talk about it on Twitter to Kelly Sue DeConnick. She's one of my favourite comic book authors, and it looked really interesting because it reminded me a lot of my mum. My experience with my mum has always been she works a lot. She loves her job. I should clarify that quickly. She's a cow nutritionist, which means that she tells farmers how to feed their cows, basically, to maximise their comfort and their dairy yield. She's very organised and always very busy. Not in a kind of incredibly stressed sort of way. She seems to just kind of manage it on a constant basis. But it did make me think of that. The book made me think of mum. And in contrast, my dad, who has a kind of different style of work in that it doesn't quite grip him 24/7 the way it does my mum. Because he's not like emotionally attached to his job, I don't think. Not the way that my mum is. So he comes home, he does a bit of work, but then he cooks. And after that he switches off. He watches TV, like panel shows and movies and stuff. So I read the book. I kind of raced through it in 2 days. I almost wish I'd taken more time because it was really jam-packed, full of interesting stuff. Statistics especially, and studies and stuff. But it's also made me realise some stuff about myself. So recently I've been visibly shuddering whenever anyone mentions the possibility of me having children. And I've realised that it's not because I don't want to have kids, or it's not because I hate children, but I don't want any of my own. And the reason I've come to realise is because of the restrictions it would place on my life and my freedom. And that realisation was kind of surprising to me, anyway. It would also kind of wreck my relationship with Aiden. He's the only one I'd be having kids with, to be honest, at this point in my life. And at this point in my life, it would definitely be an accident. At this point in my life, I would abort. Straight up. Hell no am I ready to have kids. But I was really worried also about moving in with Aiden in terms of like labour division, because I already know that it's so stereotypical and I hate that, but I am definitely tidier. I'm quite finicky about having like clutter out of the way and having surfaces wiped, whereas he's much more hands-off with domestic duties. He's really good because if I tell him to do something, he will, but I'm always the one who has to tell him. And that kind of worried me because I didn't want to like move in with him and then start getting pissed off all the time because I'd end up doing all the work. That hasn't happened, luckily, and it won't because I refuse to let it happen. Because I just, there were so many stories in this book about women who, you know, and Bridget Schultz herself started out with her husband in this, you know, equal labour division. And as always, the second they had kids, everything changed. Because like she would be the one who knows, you know, the dentist appointments, the doctor appointments, she's the one doing the school run. It would, you know, just breed all of this resentment and nastiness, which just sucks. Working mothers just consistently get the shitty end of the stick. Working fathers get, you know, statistically a better deal. If you're a father and you're in the workplace, like, fathers get promotions and pay rises more than guys without kids. And working mothers get less than women without kids. And women without kids get less than men without kids, who get less than fathers. It sucks. It's really unfair and shitty. It's particularly bad in America. Like that was the point that she was making. Because she also went to a load of these other places, like I think Denmark was the best one. And they have a completely different way of like structuring their work week, which kind of works for the benefit of the family as a whole, not so much just like completely geared towards this 50s model of man works 9 to 5, woman stays at home, looks after the kids. I'd recommend reading the book because it was a really good read, and it started off kind of like really depressing me because it was just, you know, negative thing after negative thing, like people just being shitty to working mothers all the time and the really raw deal that they get, especially in America. It's made me think more about the structure of different families across the world. I also watched this documentary a while ago, I don't know if I mentioned it, it was called Babies, and it followed these 5 babies in these 5 different countries. There was one in Namibia, there was one in Mongolia, one in America, one in Japan. I think it was just 4. Just like looking at the different ways that their parents brought them up. And it was really, really interesting. There was almost no dialogue at all. It just followed them through the first year or so of their lives, from the moment of their birth onwards. Just filming them as, you know, and just filming different ways that parents and cultures did things. Like the Americans were very hands-on, you know, the parents were taking them, like their kid, to these baby classes sort of thing, whereas I didn't see any men, I don't think, in the Namibian one. But there were loads of kids running around all the time, and the baby was like being constantly watched. And the kids were really, really nice to each other, and if baby fell over and asked for help, another kid or, you know, another woman, not necessarily the mum, would come over and, you know, pick it up again. It was really cool and kind of reassuring, because like no matter how you raise a kid, almost, they're gonna probably turn out all right, really, aren't they? You know, you don't need to take them to special classes, let them play in the dirt and they'll still turn out perfectly fine, really. So I wanted to ask, like, what was, you know, your situation growing up, almost? Do you feel like, you know, your mum got a worse deal than your dad? If your dad was around, if your mum was around, that sort of thing. It's interesting, interested me. I would recommend you buy the book. I got it on Kindle, I think it was pretty cheap. And like I said, it's not like particularly long. I went through it really, really quickly and it was really interesting. I hope this video isn't too long.